Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Pardon me, hello. It has happened. A United States fighter jet shot down over Iran. That's what we believe. The reports suggest as much, and that's bad. An F-15 Strike Eagle. That is a great big fighter jet. It's big as far as fighter jets goes. It's got a twin tail. It's 2 seats, one guy in the front, one guy in the back. Pilot in the front, the Wizzo, the weapons systems officer in the back. This plane is super duper fast, supersonic, very powerful. And it's been around for about 50 years. It's pretty wild. A lot of our planes, I'm not saying it was 50 years old, the one that was shot down. If it was shot down, it possibly could have crashed. A lot of different things could have happened. But it looks like we have a plane on the ground in Iran. And the pilots, we don't know if they're okay, if they're hurt, if they're dead. It looks to me, I'm looking at some images here, that the pilots had ejected. That's a very good sign. That means they pulled the handle. That plane was going down. They pulled the handle. The seats actually are fired out of the airplane. They're rocketed out of the airplane to keep the pilot safe away from the plane. The plane can't fly anymore. It's about to fly into the ground. There's an option. You pull the handle, you get out of the plane, and you parachute safely to the earth. It's risky, to say the least, but it works a lot of the time. I want people to calm down. I wish my cable news brethren would calm down a little bit, right? I mean, I get it. It's cable, and everything that happens is the biggest thing that ever happened. You know, bang! Two pilots downed over Iran, and it's true. It's big. It's interesting. You don't hear about it every day, and it's worth talking about. But I also think it's worth talking about that we've been more than a month into this thing. We've flown thousands upon thousands upon thousands of missions, and it looks to me like this is the first airplane that got shot down. There was another one over Iraq that collided, we believe, with another plane, right? That was, who knows, mechanical, pilot-induced, we don't know, but these things happen in warfare. There are accidents. The enemy gets lucky every now and then and kills our own guys, and you know, and there's friendly fire, and there's war crimes, and all kinds of terrible things happen in war. It's why you only go to war when you really only have to, and you just got to do it, or else the alternative is even more intolerable than war, because bad things will always happen in war. Now, we are prepared for this kind of thing. We have search and rescue efforts. We have search and rescue teams. All they do is plan and train and await the opportunity to search for and rescue pilots. We have these pilots are also trained for the possible eventuality that they are shot down. They learn how to evade capture. They learn how to survive on the run. And then if they are captured, well, they have some, you know, you ever hear about those coaches who work with people about to go to prison? They kind of teach you, hey, what it's like in prison, and here's some tips. Well, they get that along the way, too. If you get that to go to club-fed prison, we're going to give our pilots that as well, to talk about what it could be like in a prisoner of war camp in a country like Iran, Iraq, Vietnam. We learned a lot about POW issues, quite frankly, and there are issues. You know, some countries, they torture our guys. They tortured them, they beat them, sometimes they killed them. But there are ways, techniques that you can make it through and come out and join the fight again. And that's what we want. We want these guys to come out and be useful to us. So I'm not going to go into the details of what those techniques are, but I once learned them myself. The techniques are actually, well, I'm done talking about the techniques, okay? But our pilots are prepared. They are prepared. I hope they're okay. I also know that this doesn't mean we're losing the war. It doesn't mean that this is a catastrophe and, oh my gosh, it never should have happened. And, I believe personally that the war is necessary. And we had to do it. This regime has really shown themselves now that they're under fire, how they strike back at hotels, civilian targets, what they're doing there. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And that's what they are. Terrible. Terrorists. And we can't have them with that nuclear weapon and missiles and all that stuff. And that's being eradicated. These are the last gasps of a desperate regime. But I do want to go back to some of the stuff I was saying when Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, was shooting his mouth off about, you guys calling the enemies snakes and just trash talking the enemy. Now, it's okay to do that if you're a sergeant, maybe even if you're a captain and you're not on television. But when you're the Secretary of Defense before the cameras, you're not supposed to really do that kind of stuff. And there's a reason, right? There's a reason for it, because now our pilots are over there. They're potentially hostages. They are going to use Pete Hegseth's words against these pilots, right? When Pete Hegseth said it's fun to do this stuff, it's fun to sink ships, it's fun. We want to, is it fun? And they're going to have to answer for those words. I don't want the pilots to be in that position. That's why you have to give them a wide berth rhetorically. You let the force of your actions speak. You don't have to speak. Hegseth, when he opens his mouth, I got a problem with the guy. I do. And I think the whole world sees what the problem is. Hegseth, the guy's trouble wherever he goes, whether it's a birthday party at Fox News and getting into a drunken fight with some jealous husband, right, which happened because the guy was an out-of-control philanderer, right, out of control. The idea that he is now the Secretary of Defense is pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. He fired another general last night. He's blowing up the careers of good men because he has a chip on his shoulder, he's insecure, and he's paranoid. That's where we are, at least at the top. Thank God our military, right? But our military is sound. A good chunk of its leadership is not. And what the hell is CENTCOM doing, deceiving the American people like this? I'm trying to figure out the timeline, but it appears to me as though that they have been actively lying to the American people. Don't do that. You don't have to say anything. Just don't say anything. You could have tried that. Don't say nothing. Huh? That's not a lie. But it looks to me like they are, well, and we learned that. We learned that in the military. We don't want to be like the enemy. I can't believe anything the enemy is saying. Now I'm in a position where I can't, what's true, what's not true about what we're saying. I don't want to be I got to be a Kremlinologist to figure that stuff out. Should be very straightforward. When we speak, we tell the truth. And that's one of the reasons why we don't go blabbing all the time. You could do it the way Dan Kane did it, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So the other day, he had a 10-minute talk. 10 minutes. He's briefing the world on the war effort. For 7 of those 10 minutes, he talked about 2 things. A soldier who died 2 years ago at the age of 100. He went to his funeral the day before. I don't know why there's a 2-year wait after somebody dies for the funeral. It seems like that should be fixed. And then he talked about all the great men and women who work in the bomb factory. And they are great, but it's a little bit not to be discussed right now. And don't boast about how these men and women in the bomb factory are basically on the front lines, even though they're in St. Louis, right? Even though they work in Rochester, New York. I mean, they're this close to the front line, metaphorically speaking. You're bringing them into the fight. They just want to make the bombs, have lunch, and go home. Don't tantalize the enemy with yet another target. We got enough things to worry about. We've had a half dozen terrorist attacks, essentially, over the past, month? 6 weeks? Something like that? All right, let's see here. Trump has been briefed on the down F-15 in Iran. Breaking news. Yeah, again, these things happen. Overall, the war effort seems to be sound to me. And just because it happened, it doesn't. We're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. I just am not. Partly it's me. I know about a dozen guys who were in plane crashes in peacetime military. I also know 4 guys who were shot down during the first Iraq War. Some of my instructors, a guy named Vapor Walsh, he was an instructor of mine in the 1990s. He had been shot down over Iraq. What else? Who else? Major Berryman got shot down over Iraq. He was another instructor of mine. And he was a POW. Cliff Acree, a OV-10 pilot, was shot down. I never met him, but he was one of the guys. It was a POW. His weapons officer, a guy named Guy Hunter. I remember him. I also did meet and talk to, another instructor, Smiling Bob Wetzel. Smiling Bob in 1994, he was one of my main instructors when I was learning how to fly the A-4 Skyhawk in Meridian, Mississippi. He had been shot down in 1991 during the Gulf War. He had been taken prisoner of war. And you may remember his NFO, his, what do you call those guys again? His bombardier, his BN, bombardier navigator, was a guy named Jeff Zahn. Jeff Zahn was on the cover of Newsweek magazine. He was all botched up, right, banged up, and they beat him up. And he was also kind of injured in the crash and the ejection. And it was pretty haunting watching that guy. And they put these guys on TV, made them say things. And these things happen in warfare. We still won that war, right? It was over in about 100 hours. Once we put the ground troops on the ground. So I don't want anybody to get too nervous, okay? It's going to be fine. We can resume our normal activities, which include living our lives, but supporting the troops, never forgetting. And I have to tell you, I had a very interesting conversation with somebody who's been in the middle of very dynamic national events for a long time. He's a brilliant scientist, and I still have to kind of process everything that he told me. But this man of science, he's a medical doctor. He said one of his big takeaways in life and everything that he has seen, the power of prayer, that prayer works. We don't always get what we want or what we think we want or what we need or what we think we need, but he does answer prayers. I know that. I personally know that. I've seen it happen. I don't pray enough. I feel like, it's interesting, when the going's good, I'm good here, right? And I'm fine. Yeah, I'm God. Thank you for everything, but I'm good. That's not how it should work. He needs us every single day, and he needs to do things through us. We need to be looking at our fellow man, woman, other people. We need to be generous because God can work through us to help others. God can work through others to help us. And we need to be looking at each other, not so much at the phone. It's another thing. It's a big barrier, big problem. Okay, did you see that poor little 7-month-old kid shot in Brooklyn to death? I still can't get over it. I still think that the National Rifle Association is the solution to a lot of this gun violence we're seeing all over the place. Because these criminals, those maniacs on a moped, who the hell rides a moped anymore? They were riding on a moped, and I guess there was some guy they didn't like. They had some beef with him. So they took out a gun and wildly shot. 17 bullets. They didn't hit the guy they wanted, but they hit a baby in the head. This is what the NRA does. They teach people how to shoot guns. Cut 15, if you don't mind. Cut 15.
Pick up a firearm or are handed a firearm by someone else, you should make sure that the muzzle or front end of the barrel is pointed in a direction that if it were to fire, it would not cause injury. Whenever you pick up a gun, immediately engage the safety, remove the ammunition source, open the action, and look into the chamber and magazine area, which should be clear of ammunition.
And here's another little tip to some of my homeboys out there. I'm sorry, but I'm talking about that crew in Brooklyn that's responsible for this. Aim, and fire. Aim at your target. You can't fire wildly on the back of a moped. Are you crazy? This little beautiful baby, Kuria, 7 months old. I see those 2 children responding, and by children, I mean Mamdani and Jessica Tisch, right? She doesn't know anything about this stuff. She doesn't know how to respond. She knows how to network and Harvard and all that nonsense. She doesn't know anything about strategy, crime fighting, right? She knows how self-preservation, how to position herself, right? How to keep Mamdani happy and Hochul not too mad, or maybe Hochul mad, and, all this processing. And how do we deal with Julie Menin? And I want to be important. I want to be a very important person. Well, you succeeded, I guess, kind of, not really, right? You're somehow the go-to person for 3 failed mayors, de Blasio, Adams, and Mamdani. They all have something in common. Jessica Tisch. That's one hell of a resume. I was the right-hand person for 3 failed mayors. That's a rotten item on the resume. And if you do run for something, well, you really should get out now. You should get out now. Hey, you want to hear me on February 11th? This is February 11th. It's almost 2 months ago. This is what I said out loud about Pam Bondi. Sorry, Pam, it had to be said. I was just the first. Cut 6, please. February 11th. Me. Pam. I like her, but she's in over her head, and she's not doing the bidding of, and that's okay, the bidding of. Yes, you can do the bidding of. We voted for the president. He did his part, and now the people he appointed have to do their part. And I don't think Pam is living up to that responsibility. Lots of theatrics on her part today before the House. That's great. But she was non-responsive, evasive, and I think she is not to be trusted, and I hope she leaves soon. Hey, what do you know, huh? What do you know? When I speak, things happen. Could that have something to do with it? Probably not, but I was right. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Okay, 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Yeah, sorry, Pam. You got a little bit out of hand. Pam Bondi is gone. The Attorney General. And do you remember how she kind of lost her mind when she testified? It was about 2 months ago. That's when I realized, no, oh boy, she's crazy. She's not only is she crazy, she's duplicitous. Because the word is she was basically secretly a Trump hater, right? But she just overdid it. Listen to this stuff. They're kind of trying to tell her something, and then she freaks the hell out. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General at the time, replaced by Todd Blanche, acting AG, a buddy of mine. And President Trump has the right and he's the duty to seek retribution for all those things that happened to him when he was between presidencies. Cut 8, if you don't mind. Cut 8.
When you ask a question, the witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman.
My time.
Because it's honest.
Reclaiming
so he asked a 4-minute question.
Restore 45 seconds to Mr. Nadler, please, Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
You don't tell me. Loser lawyer. See, some of these people are trying to be Trump, but only Trump can be Trump, right? They don't know how to do it. You got to be artful. You got to be fun. You can't be like that. Let's see what the hell else happened here. Cut 9, please. This is another weird moment.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does the Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Are you kidding? You're the Attorney General and you're boasting about the Dow. It's just... yeah, and I know people on Twitter love it. Oh, my gosh, she owned the libs. She owned the libs. No, she owned herself. And I think what she was trying to do is, show off to President Trump. Hey, look, President Trump doesn't like that. He likes people who are smart, right? Yeah, those, you gotta be smart, and you can have an amazing, viral moment, right, and own somebody, but really own them. You just yelling and screaming about the Dow, yelling and screaming. You don't tell me. It's embarrassing. Let's see. There's something else here that I didn't like. Cut 7. Her thing on the Epstein files was all screwed up. Anybody remember this? Cut 7.
So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to
theatrics
answer the
are
question
ridiculous.
the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many?
She didn't. It's just not. It's not professional. You'll notice President Trump never gets angry. Actually, he never raises his voice. I have a whole montage of him remaining calm and cool under fire with jerk reporters, and you compare it to Joe Biden, who would just fly off the handle like crazy. I know more world leaders than any of you guys know in your gosh damn life. He was just a vicious little bastard, wasn't he? All right, there's one other thing. Where are the Epstein files? She says at one point, I don't want to release the Epstein files because there's so much pornography in there. And that wasn't true. She was playing a game. Here we go. Cut 10, please. Cut 10.
Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day.
Okay. That really wasn't true. That was her excuse for not putting out more on the Epstein files. Now the Epstein files are all out there and there's no child porn, right? And she was covering for them. Now, here is the part where the trust is shattered. All right, because it's revealed that she's playing footsie with Eric Swalwell, the Trump hater from California. Eric is going to act here. He's, I have all these death threats. No, he doesn't. All right, I'll address that in a moment. But listen to how cozy and warm she gets with Democrat Trump hater Eric Swalwell. Some people say, bipartisanship, that's great. Nope, this is collusion. Oh, wow, I appreciate that. I yield back. And it just sounds, yes, because when it comes to life and death matters in our families, we obviously. Well, she agreed to a lot there, all right? She agreed to President Trump is inspiring these death threats, and that's not true. And you got to talk about death threats. Death threats are always wrong and illegal and must be investigated and prosecuted. But what Eric Swalwell and other snakes on Capitol Hill are doing deliberately is conflating death threats with people saying nice things on Facebook and Twitter, all right? They construe ordinary kind of discourse as hate speech. And they do it for their own selfish reasons, to enhance their status, to enhance their prestige, to enhance their power, to increase their or get security, to have important-looking cool guys in suits and black SUVs, and I am so important, and I get all these death threats, therefore I'm really important and I need all the security. And it's the dumbest, most amateur move I've ever seen in Washington or, quite frankly, in local, right? These idiots who get these small jobs, people don't know who they are, and they blow themselves up and thinking that they're so important. They went into these jobs so they could get this stupid SUV and the drivers and the security and the this and the that, right? And most of them sooner or later abuse the privilege, right? Because they're immature and stupid. I know a former Speaker of the House. His name was John Boehner, as a matter of fact. Remember him? A total pushover for Obama. He went to a wedding, and the Secret Service agent or U.S. Marshal, whoever it was with him on the dance floor as he danced with a woman, or his wife. I'm not saying anything like that. Let's say it was his wife. And the guy comes on the dance floor, right? Just in case any guest gets any idea to, right? I mean, give me a freaking break. Anybody remember when Kamala Harris, the day she becomes vice president, the next day she goes to the Lincoln Memorial and runs up and down the Lincoln Memorial steps, making that Secret Service guy go with her? right? It was just a stunt. It's an ego trip. And for Pam Bondi to go along with it, hey, stop right there, Congressman. What threats are you really talking about? Because we have threats, and you actually don't have any of those, right? And we have ludicrous threats that we deal with those, right? We know that those aren't. And then we have abusive language that maybe it's not nice, but it's still within our constitutional rights. You'd be surprised, especially back then, especially post January 6th. Every little thing I said was flagged. Oh, we're going to, at Twitter, flag that. Possible hate speech. Shut up. By the way, if you want to hate somebody, you're allowed to hate somebody. You can't cancel hate. You have to have hate, to be honest. You can't have love without hate. Now, I discourage it. It's not healthy, but everybody's got to have a little hate. You can't have just good. You got to have bad with good. Good with bad. Now, let me see what the hell else is the other thing there. Oh, one other thing, and then we'll be done with Pam Bondi. Does anybody remember when Matt Gaetz was the original choice for that job? Matt Gaetz, a great guy. Matt, he would have been a great attorney general. MAGA through and through, unafraid, super smart, but he was never going to get confirmed. And they made up stuff about him, and they tried to destroy him. So he has to pull his nomination or it gets pulled. And look at how the swamp reacts. Everybody you're going to hear is either a rhino, a leftist media person, or an establishment lawyer. And listen to what they have to say about Pam Bondi when she gets nominated. Cut 12, please. Cut 12.
She has quite a whole list of experience that I think will serve her well in this position. And I do think, as the congressman said in the previous segment, that she will stand a much easier path to confirmation.
We should breathe a little sigh of relief because the strong differences between Matt Gaetz and Pam Bondi are this. Pam Bondi is eminently qualified to run the department. Lisa's right, no DOJ experience, but she is 8 years as Attorney General of the state of Florida. She's eminently qualified. She's also a very likable person.
So she was a member of that club. But that big thing there, she wasn't a DOJ prosecutor. She had never worked there. And that's a big thing. So one of the reasons why they were enthusiastic about her is they knew they could probably kick her around and they could play games with the deep state, the permanent employees at the DOJ, and undermine her agenda, i.e. the president's agenda. And they did. I mean, whatever happened to that case against Comey? Whatever happened to that case against Letitia James? Where is the case against Jack Smith? Where is the case against Alvin Bragg? Where is the case against Fonnie Willis? These people are outright criminals. Outright damn criminals. And we're pussyfooting around. Pam pussyfooted around because she is a member of the deep state. And, oh, by the way, she's not that smart. Now, remember Trayvon Martin? Who remembers Trayvon Martin? That little poor kid? The little poor black kid who just wanted to buy a bag of Skittles? Just wanted to buy a bag of Skittles, right? Wrong. He was a gangbanger, and he tried to kill George Zimmerman. But that don't matter. That don't matter because they wanted to start Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. And Barack Obama, it was a conspiracy to harness or to actually incite anger over Trayvon Martin, right, who tried to kill George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman killed him in defense, self-defense. Was found not guilty. But remember, Barack Obama started stirring the pot. Cut 13.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. And, I think they are right to expect that all of us as Americans are going to take this with the seriousness it deserves and that we're going to get to the bottom of exactly what happened.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. Says, why? Why do you say that? Why would he say such a thing? Trayvon had like a triangular face. It was a weird-looking kid. Sweet kid, but, a little bit. He looked like him, not like Obama. Oh, because you're both black. Is that it, Barack? But you're half white, but you have a complex about being white, right? You had a complex. This was an effort for you to get down with the hood again because the hood was rejecting you, just like they rejected you in 2000 when you came in and you tried to knock off incumbent Democrat Congressman Bobby Rush, right? because you were ambitious, you were in a hurry, your life had stalled, your marriage really wasn't all that much, right? And you knew that there were spoils waiting for you if you got in the game. So you ran for Congress and you lost. And why did you lose? Because the black people in Chicago didn't think you were black enough. And if you think this is racist or anything like that, or you can't believe I'm talking this way, I got it all in Barack Obama's book. He said it out loud. He was quoting people in Chicago. Who is this guy? Is he even black? He would even copy the black accent, that he puts on every now and then. He be black. He ain't black. He would say it like that, right in the book, the audio book. We can listen to it. Anyway, with that backdrop, right? So in 2012, he starts losing black support big time. 2010, 2011, 2012, because he gets elected in 2008 with overwhelming support from the black community, quite frankly, from white people, everybody, right? He decisively won that election in 2008. And everybody thinks it's going to be beautiful, right? Especially black people. Hey, finally. He doesn't lift he doesn't lift the finger to help them. And he thinks he's black enough for everybody. It's one of the things. Since he's black, he didn't have to hire anybody who was black. Look at the pictures of him in the White House with his top advisors. They're all white men. All of them. And yeah, but I'm black. You see, he didn't have to do anything for anybody else. And he didn't do anything for anybody else. 2012 rolls around. Black people have had it with Barack Obama, just like they did in Chicago. Like, this guy's out for himself. He's selfish. So they whip up a frenzy. They whip up Trayvon Martin, and they create Black Lives Matter. So he can emotionalize, and then, hey, he may be half white, but, we could also say he's half black. We could also say he's black. We got to embrace this guy. And that brings me back to Pam Bondi. So while this is blowing up, and it's a scam, she could be a truth teller. At that point, I think she's a state prosecutor. She could have called BS on the whole gosh damn thing. Instead, this is what she says about the whole situation. Here's Pam Bondi, right when Trayvon Martin said that. Here's Pam Bondi 2 days later on CNN with Wolf Blitzer, March 2012, cut 14.
You know what we care about is justice for Trayvon's family right now. Whenever you have a 17-year-old boy shot, walking home, and all you have are questions, we had to have answers. They're going to conduct a thorough investigation. I've spoken to Trayvon's parents. They're amazing people, and his lawyers, who are friends of mine.
Ben Crump was a friend of hers. Trayvon's parents, amazing people? No, actually. Trayvon was a gangbanger. You call him a 17-year-old boy. He was a criminal. He tried to kill George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman shot him in self-defense. You knew that when you indicted him, huh? But for political cover, that's politics. That's a politician. I know his lawyers are amazing. We got to get justice for Trayvon. That's the way the swamp was going. Anyway, that's how I feel about Pam. Goodbye. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
KOK 800-848-9222, 800-828-9222. All right. What the hell is our number again? 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. I'm just putting my finishing touches on a tweet that I'll be sending out to the world, basically telling everybody to calm down. So they shot down one of our planes. So what? This happens in every war, especially the ones we win by a mile. And then I just got to get it out there because the coverage of this thing makes it seem like it is a total and complete crisis. Now, I have this piece of information. Let me give you this piece of information. One of the pilots has already been rescued. That's fantastic news, and it's not surprising. We have these great search and rescue helicopters, and they can get in there in a hurry. And I think we lost like dozens of aircraft in Gulf War I. I know we lost a couple in the invasion of Iraq, although, quite frankly, that was a big bust overall. They got lucky. They got lucky. We have had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of missions. This is a, acceptable loss. All right. Don't wet your pants. Everybody, don't wet your pants over this stuff. It's the kind of thing that happened. Hey, anybody check in on the astronauts yet? The astronauts are in deep space, and they're taking very cool pictures of the Earth. Let's see here. I think we have them talking. A little bit of the astronauts talking from the moon. Shall we? Cut one, if you don't mind. Cut one.
All right, Amy, welcome on board the Integrity spacecraft. We got, right now, myself and Christina are in seats 1 and 2, getting ready for rendezvous and Proxops demonstration. Victor's just finishing up getting out of suits and getting suit drying going, and Jeremy is hard at work in cabin configuration. It was an amazing ride uphill. The views, we've got 2 moon rises that we've had so far, and the views of planet Earth. We've circled it completely, and we forgot how beautiful it is to look down on Earth.
Well, that must be great. I'd be looking out that window the entire time, but they got a lot of work to do. Every moment of their day is scheduled. They don't get to just kind of screw around. They got things to do, and they're pressing buttons, conducting experiments. They're exercising a lot. They're taking pictures, monitoring the equipment. Believe it or not, they're doing interviews up there. They're sending and receiving emails. They're tweeting. Some of these guys are actually still tweeting. It must be very, very, very sweet. I am kind of taken by a little bit by surprise that we haven't come a little bit further in the space program. It's a little bit disappointing, to be honest. I mean, we're going back to the moon. We're not landing there. The first time we landed on the moon, December 1968. No, I'm sorry. We didn't land on the moon, but we did the same thing. We went to the moon and we didn't land. That was December of 1968. And that was very exciting. Is this as exciting? We've done it before, 57 years ago, for crying out loud. I don't know. I think we should be further along. Here's Walter Cronkite. He loved the space program. And notice he doesn't overtalk during the launch. Cut 5, if you don't mind, please. Cut 5.
15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy, it looks good, Wally.
Somebody must be leaving.
Building shaking. We're getting that buffeting we've become used to.
How about that, huh? See, he was chill. I also noticed this. I looked back at that coverage, and they were content to allow NASA to report to the public what was happening, and NASA was discreet about it. They didn't hit everybody over the head. Whereas, I don't know, I thought that they were chirping a little bit too much. Listen to how we launched the Artemis the other day, all right? I think it's just a little bit too much. Cut 3. Oh, and by the way, the camera did go down like 3 times during the launch. Well, I guess that wasn't too much talking. But a lot of the channels had every ex-astronaut they could find, and they talked to them to the very, very moment the thing took off, right? And you could tell they were just killing time. A lot of these guys were shuttle pilots, right? They didn't know about the moon. I just didn't find it as interesting, and as they didn't let it breathe. Walter Cronkite, even though he was very pompous, even though he could be a bit of a, tough to take, and he wet his pants about Vietnam, actually was pretty skilled, very skilled broadcaster. All right, 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. So this is Good Friday. It's Good Friday. You know what Jesus was going through right around now, right? 2,000 years ago. Very brutal. And you know why he did it? He did it for us. And it was very bleak. And people were very, very sad. But then it was a setup for the most glorious thing that ever, ever, ever happened. His resurrection. And we can have the same thing, eternal life with him. I do believe. I get so wrapped up sometimes in the body. I was thinking about a very beautiful woman yesterday who's dead. And she got a lot of things for her life based on her beauty. And I thought about where she is right now, I mean, her body's in a coffin. And that body is not beautiful anymore. But that body is not her, right? This body is not me. It's a tool that I'm temporarily allowed to use while I'm here on this planet. And I can't get too into it. I can't get too into the things, because all of this stuff is going to go away. It's here for our benefit, but we don't live for it. It helps us. Anyway, I feel very, very grateful. All right. Give me a moment. 800-848-9222. It is time, right? Right. We shall return. And one pilot has been rescued. Intense search for second crew member after the F-15 jet was downed in Iran. We don't know shot down. It could have crashed. These things sometimes crash, mechanical, whatever. But it was probably shot down. We will be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Sacco and Feliz, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered. With the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFeliz.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.